Hi everyone out there in the land of YouTube. I almost said Facebook. We originated on Facebook, but I'm Annette Dion. I'm the host of the Psychic News Network, and today is Thursday, October 21st. Coming off a full moon in Aries. I mistakenly said Taurus the other day, but I just want to correct myself after the fact. We're still kind of feeling the energy of the full moon today. I'm going to a castle, a medieval castle in a little while, where we have the tarot class. We're going to do a spiritualist tour, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And if you ever want to take the tarot at the castle class, I do believe we're going to run it again sometime this winter. Anyway, that's that. I know that there's a lot to talk about, and even psychics get a little nervous sometimes, just truth be known. Because, you know, this political system that we're in right now is has us walking on eggshells. And even if you know your team is going to win, you still get nervous, right? Okay, so I have said repeatedly that I see Steve Bannon rearrested, and I still do see that. And I want to look at where do we go from here? Is this going to be a lot of rigmarole, or are we actually going to see him arrested sooner than later? The guides are showing me his path is narrowing. And I just dropped some cards. Hang on. Yeah, so I just dropped the Ace of Swords, which is significant. So the guides want us to see the Ace of Swords. This is a sword of truth. This is a sword of the truth coming out. Now, that's not something that's being hidden from us. In fact, speaking of the full moon, everything is illuminated right now. And if you could see the Jim Jordans and the Matt Gaetz and all those GOP Republicans that are lying, how ridiculous they look. I mean, even to the fact, like we all know and we've all been talking about, why would somebody be going to so much trouble to hide evidence and to gaslight and to say, you didn't see the crime that you saw right in front of your eyes. You didn't really see that. There's so many admissions of just blatant guilt. Why are we still here? Why are we still in this place where these criminals are walking around as free humans? We're going to look at a couple of things. One is what's going to happen with Steve Bannon next, how this is going to affect 45, how Merrick Garland's being, you know, the Attorney General, is that going to continue? Because we can't afford to have him not act. We can't afford it. And we're going to look a little bit more into what's going on with Merrick Garland. Why? I mean, I did talk about the threats, but I don't think that's the whole entire story. Okay, so Bannon. We'll look at Bannon first. I hope you had a good Thursday. Going to the mountains tomorrow for a memorial service, but it's going to be peak foliage here in New England, so it's going to be amazing. Okay, so this is anyway, I digress. So I hope you have a lovely weekend planned, because it's a beautiful time of year, and today was a gorgeous, gorgeous day in Massachusetts. All right, so we're asking about Steve Bannon, and I just said the path is narrowing for him. These are Steve Bannon's cards. The road is narrowing. The Three of Swords is, I feel like he's been betrayed. I feel like, and I said that the other day, something was promised to Bannon that has not panned out. So, you know, it doesn't take a psychic to try and figure out who might have not kept his word. There go the bottles outside. Lots of drinking tonight, apparently. Okay, the Ten of Cups. this is all the evidence against Bannon. Now, Bannon does feel like he's going to bring in some money. He does feel like he's going to bring in donations and support for his cause, whatever the heck he's calling his cause. But yeah, this is the Eight of Swords. There's a lot against him, and I even see with Bannon that I do see a health issue. He doesn't look like a very healthy guy either. Like 45 doesn't. And let's ask about whether the next step will be happening soon with Bannon. Like, he's being held for contempt, and he will. I do see him in a hearing, and I see him when I see Bannon in some kind of a hearing situation, and I see him smirking. It's an evil smirk. It's not pleasant. So why would somebody be smirking? Why would Bannon be sitting there in a hearing smirking? Kind of like, I know something you don't know. Let's see, shall we? Why would he be sitting there smirking? I'm going to pick 4 cards. He doesn't care. And the Justice card is coming up. He's going to be prosecuted. He likes it. You know, like in the Batman shows or the movies and like the Joker, like Bannon, he likes it. It's weird. I don't think he wants to go to jail, but he really, it's the whole thing about, for some people, negative attention is attention. It doesn't matter, negative or positive. But he is getting positive attention from his followers who are just, I don't know what's wrong with their brains. I mean, but the Hermit card is like, he likes being singled out. He likes, like, they're talking about him on the news. I mean, I felt like today he liked that he was in the news. Like 45. They're cut from the same cloth, I'm telling you. Bannon thinks that he has money bags behind him, but I don't know where he's getting that idea. He's being funded. It might just be his fans and his followers, but he's being funded. And the Justice card is here, but he thinks he can buy his way out. Well, you know what? That really kind of looks like the bottom line of everything that's going on, all the corruption that's going on anyway, which is why it's so exceedingly important to make this guy pay for the crimes that he's committed. Primarily the insurrection, which he's on tape talking about what's about to happen. If that had been just a little more organized, it would have gone the way they wanted it to go. And I want you to thank your angels every day that that did not happen. Oh my gosh. Okay, a couple things. I think Merrick Garland will be next. Where does this put Merrick Garland? I have not done my homework today. I had a busy day, so I didn't really do my homework in terms of looking at what the phases are, what the justice system does next, what the next steps are. Next time I do a video in a day or so, probably Sunday. Probably Sunday, maybe Saturday from Vermont. Depends on what's going on in the news. But the next time we talk, I'll have more information about how this all works. How this justice system, all works. Merrick Garland. Because I'm wondering if Merrick is going to step aside and have somebody with more chutzpah. I want to see Glenn Kirshner in that position, but I don't think he wants it. Anyway. Merrick Garland is afraid of how things will look. Merrick Garland, what I'm picking up, is actually afraid of violence. not just these threats that he's getting, and this is my psychic impression, not just the threats that he's getting, but Merrick Garland seems to have not a paranoia, but a very high concern for violence happening again, besides the threats. Feeling a little bit like he's got so much on his plate and doesn't really know what to do about it. He's trying to do the thing that will create the least amount of harm, or not do. The King of Wands, this feels like Chuck Schumer energy. This feels like some very strong Democrat who's been in office for a long time, but I don't think it's Joe Biden, who's going to sit down with Merrick Garland and go, look, we need to do this. Here's the case for doing this. Here's how we can keep ourselves safe. I know we're concerned, but not doing anything is a higher risk than prosecuting, throwing these criminals in jail. It's a higher risk to do nothing. I see somebody in a position of power who's been there a very long time, sitting Merrick Garland down, and they're really making some choices and making some decisions. I'm getting a 2 to 3 week, like November, kind of a time span on that, before we'll see some tangible action where we can go, oh, look, he did it, they did it. But I see in November, I see court. I see Bannon in court in November. I do. But that little smirk, it just really feels like he just loves the attention. It's the most bizarre thing. Wouldn't you want attention for something positive? But to his followers, to Bannon's followers, it is positive because it's what they want. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The name of the country starts with R. And they have been behind this the whole way. Okay? Talking in code, but it doesn't take us rocket scientists. The whole way. Years. Not months, for years. Facebook played a big role in that. Speaking of Facebook, diverting. Speaking of Facebook, on Bridge Cape Ann, the last video that we did, if you want to go to Bridge Cape Ann on YouTube, Corey and I were talking about Facebook. It was when all this the whistleblower stuff came out about Facebook. And I said, I see something else. I see a different social media platform that's not called Facebook. And I was figuring out in my psychic brain what that was. But I definitely saw something like Facebook that wasn't Facebook. And then I heard today that they're going to change the name of Facebook. I see Zuckerberg gone. I don't see him continuing to head up Facebook. I don't. I actually see him on trial. I see Zuckerberg on trial. Anyway, I wasn't going to talk about that, but it just popped in. So much to choose from. I know, is it just me? Is your brain boggled too? It's like, it's so much news every minute of the day. Okay, one thing I really did have to talk about too. And I didn't say it, but now that it's happened, now I will say more. People had asked me about Brian Laundrie a few weeks ago. And all I wanted to say was, I don't feel him alive. And now I can say that what I saw in my mind's eye was face down in the swamp. I didn't read what happened. I just heard that they found his body. But I really felt like, what a horrible situation. We won't look any further. But I just had to get that off my mind because it was, you know, sometimes you just have to get it off your mind. That was, what a tragedy. What weird, strange, horrible karma. And then, you know, it did open people's eyes to how many missing people there have been that have been not white, that get no coverage. I mean, the racism in this country the misogyny in this country. We're going through a time that everything's highlighted. And it's not a time to like put your head under the covers. It's a time to go, oh, that's being highlighted. What do we do? What do we do? How can we participate in healing that? And we can participate, and we must. So anyway, that did shine a spotlight on all the missing people that are never even, you know, it's a horrible situation, and prayers to his family and Gabby's family. And then by the same token, the other thing that happened was that it got highlighted that the white people get more coverage when someone goes missing. Anyway, let's move on. Voting rights. Everybody, I want you to think and pray and intend that we save our democracy. We're in a very scary place, and I'm not saying that to frighten you. I'm saying that to get everyone to take deep breaths and to go, higher powers, help us. Because we're on the brink, and I'm going to take a look at what's going to happen with voting rights. We are on a precipice. Check out Angus King. He spoke on, I think it was the House floor, 2 nights ago or last night. I'm losing track of time. We are on a precipice. We could lose our democracy. We need voting rights to pass. And I had said some time ago that I saw the filibuster, you know, like just being dropped for this particular issue. So we're going to take a look and see if that's still the case, if the trajectory is still in that direction. I do trust what the guides say. At the same time, being a little nervous. Who wouldn't be, right? Like, you know, the election, you know, all the psychics were saying Biden's going to win, Biden's going to win, Biden's going to win. But that night, we're all on the edge of our seats, and then 45 was coming out saying he won before the votes got counted. We're like, what? And at the beginning, it looked like he was going to win, and we're like, what? But that's the way voting goes. We know that. If you've lived through enough elections, you know that. That's the way it works. You don't know that night. So I'm just making the point that even though we see something and we want to assure everybody, it doesn't mean that we don't still get nervous. You know? Voting rights. 2 of Swords. This is where we're at. We're at a precipice. We don't know what to do. Now, our democracy is sincerely, and our Constitution is being sincerely, seriously put to the test like it's never been before. And I'm including the Civil War in that. Speaking of the Civil War, Giuliani has lost his mind. You have to see if you can handle it. When he put an Abe Lincoln sort of filter on and was talking about, he was talking trash about the Democrat McAuliffe, I think it's in Virginia, who's running. Oh my gosh. Giuliani's daughter really is like, she's completely disowned him, and I think she might have written a book or an op-ed or something about how she pretty much disowned him. He pickled his brain with alcohol. It's very amazingly, it's just amazing. It's the hugest fall from grace I've ever witnessed in my life that was just self-induced. So anyway, why am I talking about Rudy? Because there's too much news and I keep going all over the place. Voting rights. Well, this is judgment. This is the karma card. There's too much against these GOP Republicans that's nefarious and illegal and terrible and incriminating. For them to not have karma come back and bite them in the butt. That's what I'm picking up. The 2 of Swords is the United States being in a place where we better figure out what to do, and we better do it quickly. Don't take your eye off the ball. Don't take your eye off the ball. Makes me think of baseball. I don't like to call sports. I haven't even really been following it. There's no matching the 2004 World Series with the Red Sox when they reversed the curse and the Bambino and all that. There's no going back. That was a once in a lifetime kind of a thing. People were putting Red Sox flags on the graves of their ancestors who always wanted the Red Sox to win a World Series. So anyway, I was saying keep your eye on the ball, and I thought about that, and I actually think that they're going to do pretty well. So we'll, you know, I'm calling the Red Sox, but we'll see, right? The guys just showed me this, like, I'm not good at calling sports. There's too many variables. Give it to the higher power, right? What's meant to be will be. But I did want to, I was joking with somebody the other day that, you know, I'm in Patriots country because I live here, and so Giselle Bundchen the other day tweeted something about Tom wanting to be in New England, and so it begged the question. I'm just going to ask just for the heck of it. I'm sorry, if you guys aren't into Tom Brady and the Patriots, it's going to be real fast, because some people are. Is he actually thinking about coming back to New England? We're just going to do a little sports segue, because I just needed to know. Is he thinking about it? Does he miss Bill Belichick? I think he might. The world is like, I don't know, he might want a seventh Super Bowl ring. He might want that. I think he might. I think Tom Brady might come back to the Patriots. Okay, that's enough of that. That was my little, like, 30-second segue to find out the answer to that question. It looks favorable, actually. I would not be surprised. Okay, meanwhile, back in the politics front. So that was voting rights. Joe Manchin and Sinema and this infrastructure bill. We are distraught that they're cutting out community college funding, although I kind of feel like there's going to be something that's going to be in place of that will help. If this country needs anything in a dire way, it's education. You think? It's really scary how uninformed. This is not a judgmental statement. I'm just making an observation. It's really scary how uninformed, I hope it's not the majority of Americans, or how unable to use critical thinking, how prevalent it is. And free community college would put a big dent in that. I'm all for free college as long as you take civics. You know what I mean? But I'm not running this country, and I wish I was, but I don't think that they would want a psychic. And I wouldn't want all the threats. So there you go. It's not my path. You? Okay, Joe Manchin and Sinema. So they had to nix the free community college, which I think is a huge tragedy, way more than we're realizing. And I really hope that something is adjusted there so that the college being paid for will go in. I do see in the future, I do see free college. I see that flipping. We don't know how soon, but the other thing, they're having to cut childcare, and they don't have to cut it. It's Manchin. The climate change initiatives, Joe Manchin, then quit being a Democrat. I mean, because he's not being a Democrat anyway. So it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. He might as well not even be in public service. I don't understand why Joe Manchin is in public service. The guys just said, cha-ching, cha-ching, duh, right? Same for Sinema. The number one problem in this country is greed for power. Greed for power. Greed for money and power. Greed for money and power. Greed for money and power. In a nutshell, greed for money and power. 5 words. When you're ever wondering, why is all this happening? Greed for money and power. And just be grateful that you're not like that. If it's the only thing you pray, I'm so glad I'm not like that. There's nothing wrong with having money. There's something wrong with having a hole in your soul and trying to fill that hole in your soul on other people's backs. There's something wrong with that. Anyway, enough preaching. We're going to look at the infrastructure bill. It's going to be a big week. Didn't I say? I think I said yesterday it was going to be a big news day. It really was. And it just be ready for a lot of big news days. We're going to look too at a little bit at COVID too. I haven't really looked at that for a while. And then I don't want to make this video too long because I've got to go. This is about the infrastructure bill. What's going to happen? We really have to cut some things. This is about the global, the climate change, the infrastructure bill, the portion to address climate change. That's a big hit. That's a bad hit. I know that Biden is going overseas to talk about what we're doing about climate change. I don't feel like he's going to go with a whole lot to talk about, which is devastating. Other countries are looking at America like, what the hell happened? Understandably. So this is about the infrastructure bill. We're going to have to cut things that are painful. But the other thing I want to tell you too is that they started at 3.5 trillion, I think it was. A few weeks ago, the guides told me 2 trillion. And I mentioned that to somebody in the comments. That I got that it would be 2 trillion and that Biden had aimed really high, knowing he wasn't going to get that. But, you know, that's how negotiations work. You aim really high, you know, if you're in real estate or anything like that. So, aimed really high. I see 2 trillion. It will pass. It's better than nothing. It's something, but we can do so much better than that as a country. We really can. Queen of Wands, this is something about Kamala Harris having a lot of influence there on the infrastructure bill. And Jayapal. Pramila Jayapal, am I saying that right? Right, I think so. Yeah, that's indicating her too. She's got a lot to say and a lot of, I actually think that she could be Secretary of State someday or Speaker. Jayapal. I could see her as Speaker of the House. You know, down the line, maybe like 5 to 8 years from now. I think she's got a good shot at a position like that. She might even be thinking about that someday, which might be why she's popping into my mind. I want to look a little bit at Kevin McCarthy and I am just going to say, I want to look at the Republicans that were in the insurrection, that were complicit in the insurrection. And I'm going to look at them as a group like I had done before and see where they're at. Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan, man, what they're doing is not going to fly. It's not working. They look ridiculous. They're going to be sorry. The Republicans that were in on the insurrection will be outed and they will be sorry. And Liz Cheney's popping right into my mind. The committee has secrets. I keep getting this card. This is representative of some female energy in the January 6th Commission. They're not going to take no for an answer. And the guides are showing me something's going to dovetail with the January 6th Commission and something else hugely incriminating about 45 coming out at the same time. Which is going to be like, whoa, there's no denying any of this. I mean, they're denying it, but it's just so ridiculous. Deny, deny, deny. How many other topics can I fit into 30? We'll do 35 minutes. Okay. The infrastructure bill. Let's briefly look at COVID. Briefly. And then next time we'll go over some other really important topics. Like the abortion ban. We need to look at that. And yeah, there's a couple other things. Stay tuned. Tell your friends. By the way, before I go to the last question, I just want to say that if anybody wants to book a Halloween party, obviously remote. I just got finished doing one actually. They're 15-minute readings, send me an email. If you want to have a psychic at your Halloween party, we can just use FaceTime or something. It's wicked. It's wicked fun. Okay. COVID. Is it going to get better? Don't worry about food shortages. I feel that in the air. Just don't worry about it. We'll get by. We will be learning to get by on less. But we don't have to get all hysterical about it. I mean, I'm sorry. We have so much in this country, we can do with a lot less. Like, I just want to say really briefly, it makes me think of the drought in California, which will produce food shortages. And I said a while back, it's a lot of testimonials today, a while back I said that I saw rain in California in the fall. It is the fall. They're expecting dramatic rain in California, like rivers of rain. That's actually going to be devastating, so pray for California. But sure enough, I mean, that's the rain. We will see some food shortages. That's part of global climate change too. We're losing the topsoil, so that's not helping. Anyway, so we're going to look at COVID. We chose to be born during these times. We're up to the challenge, right? Jeez, it's just COVID. All right. Actually, as far as COVID goes, these mandates are actually going to make a big difference. These whatever. No matter what you think about vaccines, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the vaccine mandates will make a difference. We will turn a corner because of them. And it looks like the United States is going to start sending a lot of vaccines overseas to countries that can't have it. The moon is, we will lose more people. But it's that's going to motivate more people to get vaccinated besides the mandates. I've been talking about losing children to COVID for some time now. That's going to push people over the edge in terms of, we got to do this. We can't let this happen. So that's what I have for you for this evening. I'm off to the castle for a spooky haunted tour. And please, if you'd like to book a personal reading that's all about you, I'm also a spiritual life coach if you need to get moving on things that you feel blocked about. Been doing it for a long time, and I see people transform for the good, of course, right in front of my eyes. It's really exciting. It's AnnetteDion7@gmail.com. Stay in touch, subscribe, share. When I have enough viewers, I can go live, and that would be really fun. Please support your other psychics. Please support us. For me, just right now, book a reading. All right, love you guys, and thanks for your support, and namaste. See you in a few days.